So the Valks are playing tonight against the Connecticut Sun in a game they're going to win very, very easily. And look, obviously, we're making this video because there's been nothing said so far. So it seems the WNBA are doing nothing over the whole Tiffany Hayes on thread situation. And look, did I expect anything? No. Did I expect anything? Genuinely, no. But it is still a little bit of a concern that basically Tiffany Hayes responds by blocking anyone to mention it and laughing it off. That's still a bit of a concern. But if you guys don't know the scenario, basically something that reads like a threat to Caitlin Clark. Tiffany Hayes responded by joking, "That's real." 99% chance that it is either a joke or completely baseless. Obviously, the fact that but obviously it could be seen as somebody endorsing it, and with enough absolutely crazy people in the world, and with enough absolutely crazy people in the world, that becomes a little bit of a concern. To be completely honest, I don't think necessarily, to be real, if Tiffany Hayes did what she did in another profession, she might be fired. She literally might be fired in another profession. But this is a WNBA. No space for hate is selective. It is very, very selective, and we all know that. We all know that that it's hate towards certain players is fine. You can say and do what you want towards Caitlin, towards Sophie Cunningham, towards Aaliyah. They play for the Fever to an extent. I know obviously the whole Angel situation wasn't a the fake crowd, the fake noises, whatever about Angel, but plenty of players or people in the media and stuff have said and done things about Angel, but it's if you say or do things towards some other players, it's just never going to be accepted. Again, let's not forget, the Fever, people were calling for the Fever to be punished because their fans booed a player who quit on their team. That was kind of crazy. But we all know that no space for hate is definitely selective. It is very, very selective in the league, and especially amongst older players. Younger players are fair game because they got NIL in a lot of situations. But yeah, I got to be completely honest. This is a little bit disappointing, but I do hope the WNBA have to put in some form of rule about, how players interact with fans on social media, because again, look, I don't like mentioning it because there's always the, could you be speaking this into existence by saying, is it going to take a Monica Seles situation to do anything? And the unfortunate thing is that it looks like there might have to be a statistic for the WNBA to take any action on these players on social media, because it's not what, it's realistically, it's not a good thing. These weird parasocial relationships are not a good thing. And again, even if these are, even if it is a joke, and not even if it is a joke, it's a joke. What Tiffany Hayes said was clearly a joke. I would hope that the post that she was responding to was a joke. But we don't know who's behind these random accounts. I don't know, you don't know, Tiffany Hayes doesn't know. It was a random burner account with a picture of Liberty players as their profile picture. If they are joking about physical harm towards another player, players can't be interacting with that. And it's something where it's the league has to do something about it in terms of the way players interact on social media, because you know for a fact if Ja Morant does that in the NBA, everyone's if Caitlin did that, it would be a national scandal. Yeah, it would be. And to be completely honest, possibly rightly. There's shit you don't joke about. And people are if a Fever player did this, Stephanie White would already suspend them. I'm yeah, absolutely. They deserve, in my opinion, they deserve to be suspended, because it's there are just kind of lines where you're you just can't cross. You just should not be, there are lines you just absolutely cannot cross. And I'm I feel like Tiffany Hayes crossed one of those uncrossable lines. That being said, I do hope that even though they're not going to punish Tip Hayes for this, because there's no way that Twitter outrage has not been seen by the WNBA. They look at Twitter. They literally started an investigation on an entire team based on someone who wasn't at the game making something up on Twitter. So they are like, I can guarantee you, WNBA have a team of chronically online people, and I'm gonna be real here. There are a lot of crazy people out there. There are an awful lot of crazy people out there. So I do feel like the league, I think in their no space for hate, is trying to monitor that, and that is a good thing. But there has to be something done about this. The league can't wait until there's a statistic to put something in place. I've said the reason why I've said the league should suspend Tiffany Hayes is to set a precedent. I've said plenty of times that I don't feel like I think Tiffany Hayes was not malicious in what she was doing. I think her response to it was worse than what she actually did. I think what she did was irresponsible, or I could use the word irresponsible or reckless more than malicious. But I think her response was 100 times worse than the action. The response makes me question whether or not there was like malice or involved in what she said. But again, I would assume not. But there's a big but here. The league has to do something about it. If you're not going to suspend the player, the reason why I wanted to suspend it was because I felt like the league needed to basically set a precedent that you can't do this. But that could equally easily be done by the league just setting boundaries. By the league coming out next year and basically saying, putting in rules about what you can and can't post on social media. And if the players want to say, oh, it's our free speech, like, well, yeah, but it's our company. You can say and do what you want. You can say and do what you want, but like, we can punish you. We absolutely can punish you, because it's not something that anyone should be doing. And it's one of those really weird things where I was posting about this being like, you know what, talking about this being like, look, the precedent is you can't do this because you never hear talking to. It could be a crazy person on the other side. And I got branded as, for the first time, I got branded as right-wing Twitter. As right-wing Twitter. First of all, I think my response to that is I'm Irish and living in Ireland by choice. By choice. Have had plenty of opportunities to get out of Ireland that would have been significantly beneficial for me financially. But, I'm happy to live here. I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to, that's all I'll say. That's all I'll say in my answer for that question. But I got called that for the first time yesterday. Which is kind of hilarious. To be fair, I have been called MAGA plenty of times, and my response always, I'm Irish. But look, it's one of those things where Tiffany Hayes is going to be playing. The WNBA have not suspended her. But at the very least, they have to put in a policy. At the very least, they have to put in a policy, because people think, oh, this is only because it's about Caitin Clark. It's not. It's not. I'm sorry. Like, I, for one, I played, tennis was my first sport until I was a certain age. Like, tennis was a sport that I played. I've gone back playing it in the last 2 years. I've been not playing it for a decade, and I'm fucking garbage at it. Because I can't figure out how to hit a backhand anymore. That being said, I've known a lot about the Monica Seles situation, and know how serious it can happen, and know how easily it can happen, especially with how radicalized everyone is online. Like, if you're not careful, and especially if you embolden people to think that you are on their, if you're embolden crazy people to think that you are on their side, it's a matter of time before something happens to somebody, and I don't want to speak that into existence. And I think people are like, oh, it's going to be Caitin Clark. I think it's less likely to be Caitin Clark, because she's got every bit of security around her, because everybody knows she has stalker situations. I think at the best case scenario, it was reckless from Tiffany Hayes, and the fact she doubled and tripled down on what she posted and almost laughed about it, when the player she was essentially talking about has had massive stalker issues, where, again, stalkers have showed up in her apartment building. There was a rumor that one of her stalkers pulled up in Puerto Rico into their hotel when they played. She's had to cancel meet and greets because stalkers have bought tickets to them. It is a concern, But I really do feel like these parasocial relationships between WNBA players and fans. And the good thing is that it's not happening with young players. Like, you see it with young players, they know. These young players have like these young players are famous from the time they're kids. They're making big NIL money. They know what to say. They know what to interact with, what not to interact with. They know how to use social media. They're more social media savvy. They didn't grow up in an echo chamber or in an echo chamber where there's 1,000 fans at your games and all 1,000 of them you can talk with them on Twitter and you can jump in spaces with them, and who cares if they're a criminal or not in the background, or who cares they're a crazy person, doesn't really matter. And the league kind of worked off that. But the league has to put a stop to it. I just felt like suspending Tiffany Hayes would have put a stop to it there and then. It would have put a stop to it there and then. But if the league says, you know what, we're not going to punish Tiffany Hayes, but instead we're going to put in a policy that tries to prevent something like this happening in the future, or if someone does this again, they'll be suspended, that's the same difference. That's the same outcome. However, if the league brushes this under the rug, they've just proven what we have said for years, that no space for hate does not apply to certain people. That no space for hate is selective. And the annoying thing is that, like, something's going to have to happen to somebody before the league takes this seriously, which is scary, which is absolutely scary. And if you're any of these players, like, that is scary for the players, especially the players. Like, they're making good money now, but, like, could you imagine, like, being a rookie if you're making $200K a year? If you're a rookie and I don't know, you're a rookie and you flagrantly foul a certain player, and some crazy person tries to defend on behalf of that player. You don't have enough money for security. Like, it's a lot more of a risk for them. It's these type of things put every player at risk, especially when you get into a level of stardom, especially when you get into a level where people know who you are. And the more people you know who know who you are, the more people that are your fans. I've always said this from the start. The percentage of crazy people doesn't change. The problem is that when the percentage of people that are fans of something or viewers of something increases, while the percentage of crazy viewers doesn't change, the total amount of viewers or the total amount of crazy people increases. The total amount of bad apples increases. Even though the percentage is the same, the amount increases. And again, all it takes is one. So I think the league needs to take this very seriously. If they don't want to go as far as to suspend Tiffany Hayes, that's fine. They need to put in something to stop this happening in the future. Because brushing this under the rug, like, is bad for everybody. It's bad for absolutely everybody involved in this scenario. And ironically, like, it's bad for the long term. It'll even be bad for Tiffany Hayes, because you greatly increase the chances of radicalized crazy people getting involved with the players by increasing these parasocial relationships, or by encouraging and not putting a stop to these weird parasocial relationships on social media. But yeah, that's the video. See you guys.